Japan!
Alright guys, welcome back. In this video, I'm going to be trying to put a lip spoiler on my Coupe GT. So this is the earlier pre-facelift cars. It doesn't have the more aggressive air dam. That's two pieces. It would be split right here. And then it has a secondary front lip that's more aggressive than this. Now, they do make kits for these cars. I actually bought it, fiberglass kit, very beautiful looking kit, very aggressive looking, but the quality is just, it's just so below or subpar compared to what the factory uses that I couldn't bear to take this off and put that aftermarket one. In addition, the whole underbody of this car is covered with plastic shielding, and the new nose would come out to here, and there would be all this exposed underbody to the elements, you know, water, mud, leaves, whatever. And also on this car, the air filter is right behind this scoop right here. So this is a car you have to be very careful with. Do not drive over puddle stuff because it'll suck in water and you could destroy your engine that way. In any case, the plan is to modify a front lip, just a little subtle front lip from a Mustang to fit this car. And let me show you what I got. Alright, so this is the part that I bought. This is very inexpensive. I think on eBay it's like 80 bucks or something like that. And it's made from polyurethane, so it's very flexible. It's not fiberglass. So you could actually flex this, which I think will help me to contort this to the shape of the car. The thing about these Maseratis is it has a very round, it has kind of like a pointy nose, and then it just wraps around. And most cars, most sports cars, don't have that kind of line. They have a very boxy front with an aggressive air dam. So there's very few shapes that match this. And this is off I think it's a 2000 to 2004 Mustang. Or maybe 98 to 2004. It's the Mustangs that were before the retro-looking boxy ones that came out afterwards. But that car has kind of like a similar nose to this, where it's very curved, and so this is the most crucial part in this kit here. Now, that car still has a much wider front than this car because it's still not as pointy. So what I think I'm gonna have to do is cut this in half, maybe take a section, a center section out of it, and then try to mend this somehow. So I don't really know where this is gonna go. It all depends on how this comes together when it meets in the middle. If I have to, I might just use this as a pattern and then fiberglass over it to create a new lip, but I'm hoping I could just use this because the other beauty with this is if I hit something, this is flexible enough that it won't just, you know, crush or shatter. It might bend and, you know, deflect out of the way. Also, I just want to let you know I did make my own custom front splitter for this car. I made it out of a foam, like expandable foam, like you would use like Great Stuff, you know, expanding polyurethane foam that you use to like seal windows and things like that. And I sculpted it, and then I used I fiberglassed over it. So, you know, I basically I think I got it down, and I like the way it looks, but there's one problem with it. It's just too heavy. This thing probably weighs around 20 pounds, and that's one of the reasons why I want to do something lighter and simpler. Okay, so normally you might just want to start like putting some self-tapping screws through the spoiler piece up into this plastic bumper, but on these cars it has headlight washer units, and there is a tube that runs right inside this lip here, from one side to the other, from one headlight to the other. So if you just start drilling, putting self-tapping screws up through the bumper, what you're gonna do is you're gonna pierce that line. So the first thing we gotta do, let's see if this focuses here, is remove this underbody tray. It's just a plastic tray, so we can look at the inside here and hopefully push back that line so that when we put our self-tapping screws, they don't pierce that hose.
Ryan Little.
Okay, got the under tray out. You'll need a 10mm socket to take out the screws that go around the perimeter. I think it's like 12 or something, 12 bolts. And then a, let me see here, a 10mm also for these 3 screws in the back. And then you'll need a 7mm and a Phillips for, there's 3 screws. They look like that. 3 screws on either side that tie this piece into the fender well. So make sure you don't forget those, or else you might rip and break something. So now that we have this out, let's take a look under and see where that line goes. Alright, so we're under the car and trying to look into that lip here. It's going to be a little bit tough, but let me see if I can get a light in there. Bear with me, guys. Alright, here we go. Alright, so basically it's this rubber line right here. It's about a 1/2 inch diameter line, and it goes all inside this bumper from one end to the other, and here it splits into a there's like a Y. One goes to the other headlight washer, one goes to the pump. So it is on these little aluminum brackets, but they're riveted to the bumper. So I think I'm going to need to drill out these rivets here so that I could kind of move those out of the way, and then hopefully I'll just be able to put those rivets back in. So it looks like there's a 1 rivet here, and then there's 2 there. I just want to make sure that's to hold the oh, you take that back. There's actually another rivet here, so there's quite a few of them. I would say probably like 6 or 8. So let me just assess the situation and see where we're gonna go from here. Okay, so some good news. When I put the lip up against the bumper, and I look at these, there's these little dimples that are, I guess, part of the mold, and I'm assuming they just indicate your mounting holes, so they got to be drilled out, but that should be your mounting holes. It looks like if I mount this the way I want it, which is going to be really close here to the front, like this, like that these holes will actually sit in front of that hose. So that hose is like all the way at the, it's inside this area, but it's at the back, like maybe around here more or less. And the holes for the screws actually end up being closer to the front. So I think I'm gonna be fine. I think it's gonna actually be ahead of that and not interfere. I just gotta be careful here on this side because, again, this is my airbox. I want to make sure I don't drill holes into my airbox. But I think I'll be okay. I just gotta pay close attention there because the hose here continues up here and then goes up around the airbox, whereas on the other side it goes up sooner. So next step is going to be to drill out the holes, and then I found my center point, which is right here. I'm gonna cut this in half so that I could have 2 separate halves, and then where they meet in the middle, that will tell me how much of a section I'm gonna have to cut off. Right now, roughly, it looks like this thing's about 5 inches too wide, and I'm gonna take that excess out of the middle, but I want to kind of like mount this, working my way from the outside corners in, and then in the front of here I'll have an overlap, and then I'll use that to measure how much I need to remove off each part. Alright, got one side installed. I'm using these very short self-drilling screws. They're so short that like I felt if you put your finger on the inside, once it goes through the lip and the factory bumper, there's almost no point coming through. So obviously these are not the ones that are going to hold the thing in place, but this is just for me to mock it up and figure out where all the holes need to go. But here is one half, so you could see it goes past the center. If you look at the badge, that's the center of my grill, so obviously it's too far to that side. And now I'm going to install the driver's side and then see how much of an overhang I have, or overlap, and then that's how much I need to trim off. Then I need to figure out how to mend these two pieces together. Since they are polyurethane, that might not be an easy thing to do. Alright, so I mocked up the right side. Now this took a little bit longer, and I was kind of wrestling with it because the air box is right here, and that line that I've been worried about, to avoid that air box, comes closer to the front here. So I have to be very careful to not puncture that with the screws. Also, it looks like in the molding process, this edge here, the plastic is just thicker, so my screws are not long enough to actually hold. But I have all of these secured here, and that will help me, or allows me to establish the mid mark here. Sorry, my flashlight just ran out of battery, so let me refresh that. And now I could show you a little bit better what I'm talking about. Alright, so here is the overlap. So middle of the car's here. So I put this clamp here just to hold it. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to draw a tape line to see where that falls, and then I'm going to mark the part. And then I'm going to have to take a little bit off each one. So that's the next step. Okay, so I got the splitter mocked up. I use the angle grinder to kind of even out the gap here, so that at least the face is matched up as closely as possible. I did find out that this part had a crack in it. I didn't notice it until I cut the two pieces in half, so that must have been some damage in shipping and whatnot. But you could see, just back up, it's gonna look pretty OEM. It's not gonna look like a body kit or anything like that. So it's going to be quite subtle, which is what I was going for. I'm debating whether to paint it. You know, one of the bad things about painting it is, you know, these lips always get a lot of stone chips and sandblasting. So I'm sure that's not going to look great for too long. But, you know, I might still do it. I don't know yet. In any case, now I just got to figure out how to blend in this little gap right there. It's just like a 1/16 of an inch. What I think I'm gonna do is I'm gonna make the mounting holes a little bit bigger so that I could just jog the parts closer together. Again, it's just a 1/16 of an inch, so it's not that much. And then possibly have so this is one of the cutoffs of from the middle section. I'm thinking of gluing this from behind just to help even out the two parts, so at least the gap matches up perfectly, you know, even if there's still a gap. And I might just use crazy glue to fill this in. I don't know yet, because this glue, you can sand it. It can be used as a filler, but obviously it's not ideal. But you can use it as a filler. At least I know if I use this as a filler, it'll work better than Bondo. So I'm gonna kind of just see which way to go. But the other thing right now is I just have these with tapping screws, and I think I'm gonna get riv nuts, change it all to riv nuts. The only problem is the riv nuts I have here are 1024, which is a US size, but I don't have any 1024 screws. I only have metric screws, M5. So I think I'm gonna just get some either 1024 screws or some M5 riv nuts, and before I mount this permanently. But what I think I'm gonna do now is take the two parts off, put some vices or whatever, these clamps on them, and try to get that gap glued as best as I can. Alright guys, so I used some super glue to get the two parts together. It's holding together pretty well. I also opened up these holes a little bit with my stepped drill bit, just so I have a little bit more clearance. So if it's like a little bit tight to get one hole to reach the other, and I put too much stress on the mending part here, that will give you a little bit of clearance. So I don't know if you recall, but it was like a 1/16 of an inch gap before. So those larger diameter holes will help with that. I might have to open these a little bit more because I opened them to a 1/4 inch, but I'm going to be using a 1/4 20 screw, which means I won't have any more allowance. So I might open these up to about 5/16 or so with the step drill bit, and that will give me my clearance again. And so I've decided to go with 1/4 20 bolts, just because they're very common, and I have some, and I also have some 1/4 20 rivet nuts. So what I am going to use is I got to open up all the holes that are on the actual bumper to be large enough to accept the riv nuts. I'm using this like thicker step drill, that way I don't have to go that deep into the bumper to get the large diameter hole. If I had to use this one to get that same diameter hole, I have to go in about twice as much. So it's kind of it's easier with this. In any case, the next step is to just figure out the diameter hole I need to make for those riv nuts, and then I'm gonna mark it off with tape so that I don't make the diameter too large, because then I can't use the riv nuts at all. they won't stay in there, they'll fall out. So next step is to open up all those holes and install the rib nuts, and then get the lip back on there. I think in the next video I'm probably going to try to address how this looks cosmetically. So I'm probably going to sand down this raised crazy glue and maybe prime the whole thing, and then decide whether I want to keep it like a matte black or go with a color match. So let's get this thing on. Alright, so I gave it a touch of paint. It's not the best paint job. I sanded the glue joint here. It's obviously very visible that there's a glue joint there, especially this repair here, but I'm not too worried about it because I'm just gonna put it on the car, call this job done, and when the weather gets warmer I might paint it body color. The reason being is I also have to fix my side skirts here. These have some road rash. There was also a part that chipped on this little intake here, and the reason is that this fiberglass is so thin that I'm gonna reinforce it on the inside. This is not, so this was part of that body kit I was talking about, but the only part I ever put on was the side skirts. But you can see it's because it's just a cap that goes over the existing side skirts on the car. That's why I put it on, because I'm not replacing the factory side skirts, it just goes over it. But you can see it's so thin. There's parts that have to stay thin because or else they won't sit right, but these bottom edges here are so flimsy. I'm gonna reinforce all this. I'm either gonna do some fiberglass ribs or some foam, and then do little, maybe even put a rubber hose in here and fiberglass over it. There's a lot of things you can do to reinforce it, but then I'm also gonna have to do some body work to it, you know, sand it nicely and prime it and then get it painted. So I think when I do that part, I might take advantage of having that paint on hand and the fact that I'll be doing body work and just touch this one up as well. But for now, the only thing left to do now is opening up these holes. Again, these were opened up already to a 1/4 inch, but now that I'm using 1/4 inch holes, I'm going to open them up to 3/16. And I'm going to be using this hardware, with this is a 1/4 button head cap screw, and I got some fender washers to go underneath that as well. And let's get this mounted up and at least call this one done for now. Alright guys, so the new lip is mounted, very secure. I got about, I think it's 12 different 12 bolts holding it on. I had a little bit, I was struggling at the beginning because I was using 5/8 long screws, and I changed it to 3/4 of an inch, and then it went a lot smoother. Just because the rivet nut, the threads don't start until maybe like 1/8 in or so. So the longer screw helped me get it started a little bit easier. In any case, I'm going to leave this on black for now, and like I said before, if I decide, I could always paint it body color. But this was just a video showing you how you could take something that's made for another car and adapt it to your car if your car really doesn't have a lot of aftermarket options. So hope you enjoyed this video. Please don't forget to like and subscribe. Let me know what you think, and hope to see you again in the next video real soon.
Ryan Little.